My name is Mark Whitaker, and this is my project for World War II, Dr. Farmer. This is a visual representation of the 14 eras of literature we covered in class. And I created postcards to capture visual, images, and written expressions of each time period. This is my postcard on American realism and realism. By using the picture of the yellow wallpaper, I'm commenting on the inequality of women in this period. The era of literature lasted from 1860 to 1890. The picture shows a young woman trying to help an older lady escape from the wallpaper. This signifies to me the younger woman trying to escape from the prison of her sex, where marriage and society of her time has put her. By trying to help the older woman, she hopes it will save her from suffering the fate as all women that have come before her. On the back of the postcard, I have written Charlotte Perkins Gilman, the author of the yellow wallpaper, writing Dr. Mitchell. She's writing him on the unsuccessful cures of all of his patients participating in the Rest Cure treatment program. By using the Rest Cure treatment, the doctor is imprisoning young women in tiny dark rooms, like prison, where all they can do is sleep all day and drink milk. This is a surefire way to cause any woman on the edge of sanity to dive off head first. This is my postcard on modernism and postmodernism. I'm using the picture of Uncle Sam to represent how violent this time period was. The time period was from 1890 to the present day. The Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, Vietnam War, Persian Gulf, and the Iraq invasion, and the Afghanistan invasion all happened during this time period. The basic themes of modernism are alienation, frustration, disillusionment, and the rejection of outdated social systems and traditional thoughts and traditional moralities. The basic themes for postmodernism and the acceptance or embracing of anxiety, disorder, and the loss of meaning. Modernism sprang from the roots of literature in Europe and grew out of a reaction to realism. Postmodernism can be seen as a response to elitism and modernism, as well as the horrors of World War II. This is my postcard on colonialism and post-colonialism. By using the picture of the English octopus grabbing the land, I wanted to show the true meaning of colonialism as I see it. England is represented since they had the largest empire and were notorious for imperialism or colonialism. Colonialism is the conquering of a country by a foreign government using the power of might with their advanced military, and it lasted from around 1788 to 1901. Once conquered, the colony is forced to endure all the customs and courtesies of that foreign power, and is encouraged and often forced to rid itself of everything that had given itself a national identity. By the time post-colonialism came along, the conquered peoples had forgotten what it was to be an independent nation. And when European powers left, anarchy occurred, with the strongest taking what they wanted. They had forgotten their traditions as a free people, and in some cases, even their language. This is my postcard representing American Gothism. I used a picture of the catacombs to set the mood as a dark, gloomy place without hope. The American Gothic era lasted from 1800 to 1850. I incorporated a lot of proposed words in my writing to try and stay true to the story of the Cask of Amontillado. American Gothic is a lot like European Gothic. They're both dark and gloomy with an evil villain. One of the main differences is that instead of castles, American Gothic incorporates large, gloomy houses which are incredibly filthy and uninhabited. This is my postcard representing the Enlightenment period. I use a picture of Descartes' book as the front of the postcard to emphasize how much intellectual thought was expanded during this time. I also used a picture of a flower and the wax stamp to symbolize this was an era for both economical growth but also intellectual as well. Some of the characteristics of this period was to clear away superstitions, prejudice, and injustice. It also spread the ideas of universal human rights and humanitarian tolerance. The era lasted from 1650 to 1800. This is my postcard for courtesy books. Courtesy books are guidelines or rules that govern society. There is no real time frame for these books, as they are a how-to-undo book for society and the behaviors that govern society. One of the characteristics of the Romanticism period was to help instill the proper gender behavior for men and women. However, a courtesy book examines the old standard roles and rules that govern the actions and behaviors of the different sexes. They provide an editorial approach to the roles of the sexes. An author expresses an opinion on the limitations of roles that are outlined for them to follow. It is a time where women speak out and want the right to have an education and be recognized as having the ability to be educated. I use a picture of a mother with her newborn baby to emphasize a period that examines a woman's role in life. I chose a quote from Rousseau, an author from the Age of Enlightenment, because it demonstrates an limited role of women. On the back of the card is an example of a letter written from one cousin to another, addressing the need to educate and expand the role of the sexes for the sake of her unborn child. This is my postcard for the Romanticism period. During the 18th century, a movement called Romanticism swept Europe and is generally considered a reaction against rationalism and materialism. The picture on the front of the card, an urn, is meant to bear reference to one of the writings in this time period, John Keats' Ode to a Grecian Urn, and a poem in which he used a number of themes in use during this time period. On the back of the postcard is a narrative from a critic to Keats, which identifies the themes he used: imagination, individuality, and self-expression, and a kind and harmonious nature. The last line is in reference to Keats' desire for his work to be a legacy which would endure well beyond his death. This is symbolized by the picture on the urn on the front, which has also lasted well beyond its time period. This is my postcard for the Victorian era. The Victorian time period was from 1837 to 1901, during Queen Victoria's reign, whose picture is depicted on the front of the postcard. The end of the 19th century brought drastic trends that forced English society to question the systems of belief that had governed it for centuries. This is best illustrated by Darwin's theory of evolution, which called the validity of religious doctrines into question. Likewise, the Industrial Revolution brought economic and social change to the English society. On the back of the postcard, correspondence to Mr. Darwin identifies the major themes of the era, which are in stark contrast to the Romantic era. Nature is viewed as harsh and cruel, and the focus was outward on the nation as a whole. Writings were based on reality and the value of hard work. Growing social consciousness was also on the forefront, as evidenced by child labor laws, safety laws, and women's rights. This is my postcard on the modern drama era. Night Mother was first produced in 1983, an example of a modern drama. A picture adorns the front of the postcard along with a quote from the play itself. The quote provides valuable insight on the play and what the viewer would expect to see. On the back of the card is an example of a suicide note Jessie may have wanted to write, which identifies the major themes of the story. Alienation and loneliness, death, free will, and the success and failure are all themes which are captured in the narrative. Natural law is also an underlying theme in which her disease, epilepsy, causes her to retreat from the world. Jessie believes she is not strong enough, she is too weak to survive. She chooses to end her life because she has no convincing reason to live. This is my postcard on the difference between Western and Eastern thought. I used a picture of the Christian cross and the Islamic crescent on the front of the postcard, mainly because when you think of the differences between Western and Eastern thought, you have to think about the differences in the religion of each culture. Though religion is a major difference between East and West, they also each have different patterns of attention and perception, with Easterners focusing more on the environment and Westerners focusing more on objects. Westerners also see stability where Easterners see change. And in the organized world, Westerners see continents and countries where Easterners see relationships, like what faith that country is, or are they your friend? Because of these differences, it makes it hard for different people of each culture to understand one another. And when people don't understand one another, they get angry and frightened, thus causing war and conflict to occur. Although we looked at 14 different literature areas, they are all intertwined and connected by change, by an ever-changing social and economic landscape. Writers, through their works, became the voice of their society in their time period.